All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahawashi, Ba'ashim Rakar Kwadash, and double honors to the apostles of the great millstone and salutations to the Yakim out there that continue to further His ministry throughout the four corners of the earth, and Shalom to those that are learning and listening and growing thereby as well. It's the brother Marka Kam, and I just want to get into and speak up against what Al-Azhar was saying about what is written in the book of Numbers, the 8th chapter, and him saying that according to the law, as you can see, concerning the Levites, they can only but be a priest until they're 25, and at the age of 50, which is another 25 years later, they have to retire from the service of being a priest. So I'm not speaking up against this in itself. I'm not speaking up against the law. But what I am saying is, which is a truth, is that we are no longer under the old covenant. Right now, we're on the grace transitioning to the new covenant. So things are a little different now. Now, Al-Azhar saying what he was saying and bringing out this precept and also bringing out the law, he would have been correct had we been under the old covenant. But he is not correct, because we are under grace and we're under another priesthood. And the priesthood we are now under is the priesthood of Yahawashi. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the book of Hebrews. And according to Al-Azhar, Al-Azhar doesn't find the book of Hebrews credible as the book of the Lord, or one of the books out of the Bible. He doesn't find it as the word of the Lord. And the reason why he doesn't believe it is to be, it's not that he doesn't believe, it doesn't really matter what he believes. But I think he knows in his deep down in his soul that the book of Hebrews has significance, but he wants to discredit the book of Hebrews because it doesn't go right along what he's talking about. And what we do is we don't add and take away from the book, because we know that there's a repercussion when you do that, and the repercussion is written in the book of Revelation 22. So we don't want no parts of that whatsoever. But you got certain men, because they feel as though they're overly qualified and they call themselves the high chief priest, they can just pick and choose whatever book out of the Bible and saying, oh, well, this book isn't the book of God, or that book is the book of God. So that's how he feels, because of this mindset he has towards himself. And he thinks obviously very highly of himself, as he does call himself the chief priest. And another thing that I want to say too, the reason why he brought this out as of recently, this is just what I feel and what I think. The reason why that is simply because what he really wants to see, and what he would really like to see, is the men that came into the truth in the mid-'80s and in the early 90s. He would like to see these men out of the way so that eventually everybody else can turn their heads away from their elders and their apostles and look at him as the one and only chief priest of the nation of Israel. That's why he's bringing this all out. But see, as I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this again, he's wrong in saying that, because we're no longer under the old covenant anymore. We're under another thing. And that thing is grace now, transition into the new covenant. All right. So we're done with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and we're going to read Hebrews 5, verse 1. So we'll begin this. It's for every high priest taken from among men. He is ordained for men in things pertaining to the Most High, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. Who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way? For that he himself also is compassed with infirmities, and by reason hereof he ought. As for the people, he also for himself to offer for sins, and no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of the Most High, as was Aaron. So also the Mashiach glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, Thou art my son, today have I begotten thee. As he saith also in another place, Thou art a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek, which Melchizedek, according to the Spirit, as we believe, was Yahawashi. Okay? But when Yahawashi came back, who he is and who he's going to be for the nation, he's now the priest forever. And this goes all the way back to the book of Genesis 49, verse 9, on how it reads, actually verse 10 to be exact. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So it says the scepter shall not depart. In other words, the kingdom of Israel will be by two individuals. You're going to have King David, which he's going to be the king of Israel, and as well as you're going to have Yahawashi, which he's going to be the king of all kings, as it is written in the book of Revelations 5:5, that he is going to be the Lord of lords and the kings of kings. So you have two individuals of the tribe of Judah, which will spearhead the kingdom. So there you have that, where it says the scepter shall not depart from Judah. The scepter is held by a king, David. And what tribe are these men from? The tribe of Judah. So that's why it also says in I believe it's in the book of Isaiah, it says that the throne of David shall be there, and there shall be no end to it. There shall be no end to the throne of David as well. But who's going to be guiding David? Yahawashi is going to be above David, and it just goes to show you that so that's all I have to say from there. So now we're going to read some more on this. Nor a lawgiver from between his feet. So what does that mean? Meaning that the Lord is going to for always be the priest. All right? Because right now we're under his priesthood. And when he comes back, he's going to remain the ultimate priest above all of the priests as well. So right now as it stands, as I'm going to say again, we are no longer under the Levitical Mosaic priesthood, but rather the eternal priesthood, which is Yahawashi's priesthood now. All right. So now we're going to read this again. Hebrews 5 verse 6. As he saith also in another place, Thou art a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. And though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all of them that obey him. Called of the Most High. So he was called of the Most High and high priest after the order of Melchizedek, of whom we have many things to say, and hard to be uttered, seeing you are all of hearing. So that's all I need to read. So he was called of the Most High to be the priest for eternity, forever. Okay? And the proof of that is when you go all the way back 2,000 years ago, you had men that were well above the age of being a priest. Now let's begin with the Apostle Paul. Scholars say that he came into the ministry in his early to mid 30s, and ended his priesthood, his ministry, around his 60s. So the Apostle Paul was above the age of ending his priesthood. All right. And then you had another individual such as John the Revelator in the island of Patmos he was in. He was way above the age of the priesthood. He was in his 90s. All right. Some scholars say he was in his late 90s. Some scholars say that he was in his mid 90s. But the point I'm making is these men were considered way above the age of the priesthood. All right. So even back there, when you go back 2,000 years ago, that proves that the men of the Lord at that time were under a different priesthood. They were under a different setting. They were no longer under the priesthood of the Mosaic one at that, but rather under the priesthood of Yahawashi. And that's the same priesthood we are under today. That's why we have men, and that's why we have men that have came into this truth even at an older age. There's men that have been in this truth when they were young men, and now they're in their 50s, going into their 60s. Okay? That's how it is right now. So, going back to what I was saying before, see, Al-Azhar could have been correct had we been under the old covenant, but we're no longer under the old covenant, the old Mosaic Levitical law. Now, am I saying altogether that Moses, whatever he did, was a waste? No, I'm not saying that, because we're still under the law. However, we keep the law because Yahawashi kept the law anyway. So we're not living no longer by the law. We're no longer living under the old covenant, but we're living by the law, and we're doing the things concerning the law because Yahawashi was an exemplification of the law. When you read the book of Matthew 5, verse 14, he explains that he didn't come to do away with the law. As it is written in the book of Matthew 5, verse, I believe it's 17. Not one jot nor one tittle shall any wise pass from the law. And then he did not come to do away with the prophets. So no way in any shape or form am I saying that we're to do away with the law. No. What I'm saying right now, which is a truth, is that we're under the priesthood of the Mashiach Yahawashi, which will be the eternal priesthood even into the kingdom of heaven. And what that also means is that you could be a part of the priesthood if you're called for whatever age you are, and also you could be a part of the priesthood of any tribe. Okay? Because back in the ancient world, back during the time of the old covenant, the only priesthood you had was of the Levites. But things have changed, as I've already explained already. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move forward, and we're going to read the book of Deuteronomy 18, because Moses spoke to the children of Israel of another man which was going to come on the scene among the brotherhood of Israel, as the Most High told Moses that would be the case, that he would lead the children of Israel, and the Most High is going to be with him. All right, and the Most High is going to be with him in terms of putting words into his mouth. So we're going to begin by reading Deuteronomy 18, verse 15. It says, "The Lord thy power will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy power in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my power, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I did not. And the Lord said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command thee. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which shall speak in my name, I will require it of him." Okay? So we're under another authority, and the authority that we're under is the high priest, which the Most High ordained for him to be forever, and that's Yahawashi. All right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to read some more scriptures, and we're going to read the book of Hebrews, the 8th chapter. Verse 1, it says, "Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum, we have such an high priest, who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens," such as what Moses prophesied, that a man was going to come among the children of Israel, and this is the man whom we shall hearken, and the Most High will put his words into his mouth. Okay? A minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle which the Lord pitched, and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. So what was the gift that the Lord gave? Let's go and read. Right, it's John 4, verse 10. Yahawashi answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water, and art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself and the children and his cattle? And Yahawashi answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. So what is that water? Which is referring to the word. That's what that water is. The word is the water that he has given us, which is his gift. Okay? And as it is written in the book of John 7 and 38, whosoever believeth on me, as the scripture have said, shall flow rivers of living water, meaning we're going to have an abundance of knowledge and understanding from just taking heed to what it is said in the scriptures, rather than leaning onto our own understanding, which is what Al-Azhar is doing. And that's why Al-Azhar doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. All right? Because he hasn't absorbed all of the scriptures. So anyway, now that we're done with that, we're going to move forward and we're going to read also the book of Luke. No. We're going to go back and read Hebrews 8. So it says, for every high priest, verse 3 again, for every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, and wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law, who serve unto the example and shadow of the heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of the Most High when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou makest all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. But now have he ordained a more excellent ministry. By how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. What is the better covenant? The new covenant, which talks about the laws being in our inward parts. So we've obtained more in the excellent ministry. So let's look up this word ministry real quick.
Strong's G 3009. Liturgia.
And if you didn't hear it, he said liturgia. And it says, a public office which a citizen undertakes to administer at his own expenses any service of military service. So it just simply means service, which is what it means, right? So we're under the service, we are servants under the priesthood of him as well. And this is just me constantly making the point of how we are not under the priesthood of Moses anymore, but rather the priesthood of Yahawashi. Because when we go out there and we do the labor of the Lord in the highways and the byways, or wherever place we're in, and when we come home, we do these videos. We're doing it because we are servants of Yahawashi. We are no longer servants of the Mosaic Levitical priesthood. All right. So whatever Al-Azhar's talking about really holds no weight when it's all said and done. So we're going to read John 4, we've read that already. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read this. And we will begin by reading verse 11. And it says, And as they heard these things, he added and spake a parable, because he was nigh to Jerusalem, and because they thought that the kingdom of the Most High should immediately appear. He said, therefore a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy until I come. But his citizens hated him and sent a message after them, saying, we will not have this man to reign over us. And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound have gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. So this is just parabolic of the men that came before him to be his servants. Okay, the nobleman, which was referring to Yahawashi, and he called his 10 servants, and then some of the servants was like, look, I don't want you to reign over us. And then you had the other servants that did his bidding. So this parable represents himself, and as well as it represents us doing his bidding, furthering the ministry under him. All right. So that's all I have to say right there and there. And also what I'm going to read is the book of Isaiah 66, which Isaiah 66 is referencing the kingdom, a future event. All right. So it says, and they shall bring all of your brethren for an offering. I'm going to just get to the point. You know what? I'll begin in reading verse 19. And as it reads, I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, which is all of Japhet, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, and neither have seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles, and they shall bring all of your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, save the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering and a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. This is the point. And I will also take them for priests and for Levites, save the Lord. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, save the Lord, and so shall your seed and your name remain. So in this new heavens and new earth, which is the kingdom of heaven, the Lord is going to take men from all of the tribes, and they will be for priests and as of the Levites. Now let's further support what I just said there by reading another scripture. We're going to read two scriptures, one in Revelations 5 and one in Revelations, the 20th chapter. So we're going to get the first one, which is in Revelations 5, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to read verse here. We have it right here, Revelations 5 verse 10. You know what I'm going to do? Let's read verse 9. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book, to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood, out of every kindred, and tongue, and people, and nations. And those that were redeemed by the Most High were the 144,000. And guess what? The 144,000 are 12,000 men out of each tribe, which is just 12 tribes, okay, coming out of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And out of these men will be made to become the priests of the next world to come, which is the kingdom of heaven. That's why it says in verse 10, and has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. Now what we're going to do is we're going to read something else now. We're going to read Revelations 20. Here we have it right here. It says, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of the Most High and of the Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So who are these men? The 144,000 that escaped the second death, which is the nuclear destruction. So there you have it right there. So from the time that we're in, actually, let me back up a little bit. From the time of Yahawashi, even up to the time of the kingdom of heaven. Okay. And in between that time, the time we're living in right now, we're under another priesthood. Okay. And that's the priesthood of Yahawashi. And through Yahawashi, things will be done a little bit differently. As I've said in the highways and the byways, this is Yahawashi, well, should I say the Most High, sending Yahawashi to be a vessel to tweak what we once had before, but much more better. So that eventually all of the tribes can partake in the priesthood. And also the whole thing of what it says in the book of Numbers 8, verse 23 to verse 24, and how you're only supposed to be a Levite to be a priest, and you're only but supposed to be a priest from 25 to 50 years old. We're no longer under that anymore, as I've already explained. But the ultimate thing that I want to say out of this lesson is the fact that all of the tribes of the nation of Israel will be the priest, as I've later have already explained in this lesson. So that's all I want to say with this. I want to give all of the praises to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahawashi, Ba'ashim Rakak Wadash. And with that, I am out, and I say Shalom.